Trying to Srila Prabhupada, it's the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada according to the Bharati calendar. Otherwise, it's the 14th of November. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada was born on the 1st of September, 1896, day after Janmashtami, the appearance day of Lord Shri Krishna, in a little house in the Toligunj suburb of Kolkata. His father Gaur Mohan Dey and his mother Rajani named him Abhay Charan, one who is fearless, having taken shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. An astrologer prepared the horoscope for the baby and revealed, when this child reaches the age of 70, he will cross the ocean, become a great teacher of religion, and establish 108 Krishna temples. And this is exactly what happened. Srila Prabhupada set out to America in 1965 and established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness at the age of 69. He traveled around the world 14 times, established more than 100 temples of Krishna, and initiated more than 10,000 disciples into Krishna consciousness. Some of his early pastimes are as follows. So this is with his father, Gaur Mohan Dey, and their deities at home. I think Radha Govind.
Yeah. We have a very nice temple in Calcutta.
Srila Prabhupada always spoke of his early childhood with great fondness. Here are some recollections of his childhood from his books and conversations. So Srila Prabhupada said, my father was a pure devotee of the Lord. When I was only 4 or 5 years old, he gave me a couple of forms of Radha and Krishna. In a playful manner, I used to worship these deities along with my sister, and I used to imitate the performances of a neighboring temple of Radha Govinda. By constantly visiting this neighboring temple and copying the ceremonies in connection with my own deities of play, I developed natural affinity for the Lord. I remember when I was only 1 year old, there was a great Sankirtan in our house, and I also joined the dancing party. And I was saying only up to their knees because I was very small, so I remember those days. In Kolkata, there was a very virulent type of plague epidemic in 1898. So Kolkata became devastated. All the people practically left Kolkata. Daily hundreds and hundreds of people were dying. I was 1 year old and 1.5 years, between 1 and 1.5 years old. So one Babaji, he organized Sankirtan, Hare Krishna Sankirtan all over Kolkata. And in the Sankirtan, all the people, Hindus, Muslim, Christians, Parsis, everyone joined. They were going road to road, street to street, entering in every house. So the plague subsided. This is a fact. Everyone who knows history of Kolkata knows that the plague was subsided by the Sankirtan movement. In his childhood, he says, when he was 1 to 1.5 years old, he also suffered from typhoid. And there was a Dr. Kartika Chandra Bose. He said, please give him chicken soup. So my father refused. No, we cannot. The doctor said, no, he has to be given. Now he's become very weak. The father said, no, I cannot allow. Don't mind, I should prepare in my own house and send. The doctor said that. You simply have to give it to him. So it was sent from the doctor's house. And when it was given to me, immediately I began to vomit. My father threw it away. And when the doctor asked that this was the cure, he said, no, don't bother. My father's income was at most 300 rupees. So we were not very rich men, but we had no want. Father was maintaining his family, getting children married, distributing the wealth. Everything was very nice. We never felt any want. In this mango season, because father saw to it that there must be a full basket of mangoes daily for the children. So we were jumping, playing and eating mangoes. Prabhupada says when he was 6 years old, his father gave him a Rath cart and encouraged him to observe functions such as the Rath Yatra and Dol Yatra ceremonies. So Prabhupada was performing the Rath Yatra in his neighborhood. He used to spend money liberally for distributing prasad to the children and friends. That's his father. So I received this training from the very beginning. somehow or other had the spark of Krishna consciousness, and my father detected it. Just a pictorial version of Prabhupada with his rat cart and the neighboring children there, and some sweets as well, made by the neighbors. So father took care of Prabhupada in such a way that Prabhupada became perfectly Krishna conscious. His father taught him how to play the mridanga, but his mother was against this. So there were two teachers, one for teaching normal education, ABCD, one for teaching mridanga. So the first one was waiting and the other teacher was teaching how to play mridanga. So his mother would be dissatisfied because the other teachers had to wait. So she was angry and she said, "What is this nonsense? You're teaching mridanga. What will you do with this mridanga?" Well, his father would say, no, he must learn a little mridanga. Father used to receive many saintly persons at home, and every one of them he used to say, "Kindly bless my son so that he may become a servant of Radharani." That was his only ambition. He wanted me to be a preacher of Bhagavad, Srimad Bhagavatam, and a player of Mridanga, and to become a servant of Radharani. Every parent should think like that. Otherwise, one should not become father and mother. If due to past pious activities, one gets a good father and mother, that is a great chance for advancing Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada says he's very much indebted to his father, and he's dedicated his Krishna book to his father. Srila Prabhupada became a student of philosophy at the Scottish Churches College in 1916. It was a prestigious college. In 1918, when he was in his third year of college, his father Gaur Mohan Dey got him married to Rani Datta. In 1920, Mahatma Gandhi announced the non-cooperation movement. So in order to fight against the British through non-violent means, the call was to give up English education, English court, and English manufactured goods. Many people accepted this call and joined the movement. The influential leaders surrendered their honorary posts and titles. There was Motilal Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, C.R. Das, Vallabhbhai Patel, and Sri Raja Gopalachari. Some of these are influential people who joined the Gandhi's movement. Motilal Nehru, the father of Jawaharlal Nehru, was a very rich lawyer, earning $500 every day. Mr. C.R. Das, another lawyer, was earning $50,000 every month. So they renounced everything and joined Gandhiji's movement. Gandhiji appealed to his countrymen to reject all foreign cloth and wear only khadi produced from India's own cottage industry. He organized public meetings and asked people to come forth and reject the imported cloth. On the spot, people would throw down heaps of foreign cloths and set them ablaze in a great bonfire. Students came out of the government educational institutions. Prabhupada was one of the students who gave up his English education and joined Gandhi's movement. He started wearing khadi. However, in 1922, Abhay Charan met his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. This changed the course of his life. A close friend of Srila Prabhupada, Narendranath Mulik, insisted he come and meet the sadhu from Mayapur. So initially, Prabhupada was reluctant to go. He'd met many bogus sadhus and he'd had a very bad experience of them. But his friend insisted. So together they entered the ashram where they were sitting with his back very straight. They found Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, a studious-looking man wearing sannyas robes and small round spectacles. Srila Prabhupada and his friend both bowed down on the floor before him. While the two young men were still rising and preparing to sit, Bhaktisiddhanta immediately said to them, "You are educated young men. Why don't you preach the message of Krishna all over the world?" Srila Prabhupada could hardly believe what he had just heard. They had not even exchanged any words, that the sadhu was telling them what they should do. He asked him, "Well, who will hear your message so long as we are a dependent country? First, India must become independent. How can we spread our Indian culture if we are under British rule?"
So this was the sort of following the Mahatma Gandhi's tradition, that we need to get rid of the British first, and then we can do things.
So Bhaktisiddhanta replied in a quiet, deep voice. He said, the message of Krishna cannot wait for a change in Indian politics. It is not dependent on who rules. The teachings of Bhagavad Gita are so important, so exclusively important, that it cannot wait. Walking away from the ashram, Narendranath asked Srila Prabhupada, what is your impression? What do you think of the sadhu? Srila Prabhupada replied, the message of Bhagavad Gita is in the hands of a very expert person. Srila Prabhupada accepted Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, as his spiritual master immediately. In 1933, he took formal initiation from him.
So in the meantime, he helped the Gaudiya Math between 1922 and 33. He was associating with the devotees of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He may have even met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for maybe one or two occasions before initiation. But this is in Allahabad, where he took this initiation.
After taking initiation from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada was contributing to his spiritual master's mission by donating money, as he was doing earlier. But now he wanted to do more to please the spiritual master. He could not give up family commitments and take sannyas. So he wrote to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in December 1936, humbly asking if he could offer some more direct service. So he received a reply on December 31st, 1936. The spiritual master had already passed away 2 weeks before the letter had arrived. Srila Prabhupada opened the letter, and to his astonishment, the letter iterated the same order he had been given in 1922, when he had first met his spiritual master. So the message was that you try to preach whatever you have learned from me to the English-speaking people of the world. That will be good for you and for the people to whom you preach. That is my instruction to you. Srila Prabhupada took this as a final order from his spiritual master and decided to make it his life's mission. In the years that followed, Srila Prabhupada wrote a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, continued assisting Gaudiya Math in its work, and in 1944, he started the Back to Godhead magazine. This magazine was dedicated to persuading the general public that material life was not the only reality, that they should be preparing themselves for the real goal of life, which is to return back to the spiritual world, rejoin the original loving Father, Sri Krishna. Maintaining the publications was a great struggle. Single-handedly, Prabhupada wrote the material, edited it, typed the manuscripts, checked the proofs, and even distributed the individual copies.
And it was a real struggle, right? Because in Delhi, he would go in the heat, and sometimes people would ignore, or he would get hurt. He got injured once where I think Gomata gored him. But he never stopped. He just continued. These challenges, he just took it as
his life's mission. Really.
Yeah, took it as that, and he never stopped. So this is determination, very important. When we start something, then there will be a lot of setbacks, because this is the way of the world. We should expect the setbacks, but not let it put us off from our seva. This is really strong, good determination which Prabhupada gives us as an example.
In 1944, during the Second World War, there was an acute shortage of paper, and the government of India refused to sanction paper for printing the Back to Godhead magazine. So Srila Prabhupada wrote thrice to the government asking permission for the continuance of the publication of the magazine, and the third attempt was successful. The government sanctioned papers for publishing the Back to Godhead magazine. So here you can see Prabhupada with the Back to Godhead magazine before it has been cut.
So here he went to Jhansi, wasn't it?
This is, so this is in Jhansi, where he opened the first institution, which is called the League of Devotees, hoping to start spreading the movement from there.
I think this is Radha Damodar temple, and he's got the Bhagavatam. I think the first 3 volumes are ready of the first canto.
Most of the people are not interested in spiritual life. Even his wife and other family members had little or no interest in his mission. So Srila Prabhupada started spending more and more time away from home, trying to carry out his preaching duties. With great effort, he established a center in Jhansi called the League of Devotees, but the members were not very active, and later he had to close that down as well. One night in the mid-1940s, Abhayjan had an unusual dream. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta appeared before him, beckoning. He was asking Abhay to leave home and take sannyas. Abhay awoke in an intensely emotional state. He exclaimed, "How horrible!" He thought he knew it was not an ordinary dream, yet the request seemed so difficult and unlikely. Take sannyas, at least it was not something he could do immediately. Now he had to improve the business, and with the profits, he would print books. He went on with his duties, but remained shaken by the dream. Then he had the dream a second time. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati appeared before him again. He was beckoning, indicating that Abhay should take sannyas. Again, Abhay had to put the dream aside. He was a householder with many responsibilities. To take sannyas would mean to give up everything. He had to earn money. He now had 5 children. So Srila Prabhupada said, I started a big factory in Lucknow. Those are the golden days. My business flourished like anything. But then gradually everything dwindled. With the help of some acquaintances in Allahabad, he opened a small factory there in the same city where his Prayag pharmacy had failed 15 years before. He moved to Allahabad with his son Vrindavan and continued manufacturing medicines, while the rest of the family remained in Banerjee Lane in Kolkata. Abhay continued his traveling, but now he was often away for months at a time. In 1948, Abhay had closed his factory in Lucknow. It had fallen behind in employees' salaries, and since 1946, he had been paying past rent in installments. But when the sales dropped off, continuing the factory became impossible, so he lost everything. Srila Prabhupada decided to retire from family life and move to the holy city of Vrindavan, the place where Lord Krishna displayed his childhood pastimes. He lived in a very humble and austere way in the historic temple of Radha Damodar. He had no income now, and thus ate little, wore old clothes, and spent years in deep study and writing. He did not care for his own comforts. He collected money only to print books. So this is like from the 1950s up to when he left. So you're talking about a good 15 odd years living like this.
Preparation for the West.
One night, Abhay had a striking dream, the same dream he had had several times before during his days as a householder. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati appeared just as Abhay had known him, the tall, scholarly sannyasi, coming directly from the spiritual world, from Krishna's personal entourage. He called to Abhay and indicated he should follow. Repeatedly, he called and motioned. He was asking Abhay to take sannyas. Come, he urged, become a sannyasi. Abhay wondered why would his spiritual master have asked him to accept it. The reason that his spiritual master was saying, now take sannyas, and you will actually be able to accomplish this mission. Formally, the time was not right. So in 1959, he took sannyas. On the morning of 17th September 1959, in the 50 by 25-foot deity room on the second floor of the Keshavji Mutt, a group of devotees sat before the deities of Radha Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. Abhay sat on a mat of kusha grass beside a 90-year-old Sanatan, also to receive sannyas that day. Sitting opposite the 2 candidates, His Holiness Keshav Maharaj presided. And to everyone's surprise, Keshav Maharaj asked Abhay to speak. He had not expected this. He looked around at the gathering of devotees. He understood that the common language was Hindi. Only Keshav Maharaj and a few others spoke English. Yet he knew he must speak in English. So, he's preparing to start lecturing in English. After Abhay's speech, Keshav Maharaj awarded sannyas, saying that Abhay would now be known as Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, that Sanatan would be Muni Maharaj. After the ceremony, the two new sannyasis posed for a photo, standing on either side of the sannyas guru who sat on a chair. So here you can see that's that picture.
Muni Maharaj, yeah?
Muni Maharaj sitting, Keshav Maharaj and Bhaktivedanta Swami. The Gaudiya Patrika's account of the sannyas initiation included a biographical sketch of Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, listing the major events of his life. So the article concluded, seeing his enthusiasm, ability to write articles in Hindi, English, and Bengali, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj gave him the instruction to take 3 Dandi sannyas. For nearly 1 year, he'd been ready to accept sannyas. In the month of Bhadra, on the day of which Vishwarup accepted sannyas, Bhaktivedanta Swami at the Sri Keshavji Gaudiya Math accepted sannyas from the founder of the Vedanta Samiti, Bhakti Prajnan Keshav Maharaj. Seeing him accept his ashram of renunciation, saying this pastime for accepting the renounced order of life, we have attained great affection and enthusiasm.
So this is Vishwarup, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's
older brother.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu assuring Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata, he will not take sannyas, he will stay with him.
Then a year later, so this is 1960 now, he started his work on the multi-volume annotated translation of the 18,000 verse Srimad Bhagavatam. He also wrote a book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. As years passed, he formulated a plan to spread the chanting of Hare Krishna throughout the world.
I think this, do this bit.
Okay, so this is his journey to USA. Before departing to USA, Srila Prabhupada visited Shantipur, chanting Hare Krishna Japa deeply and weeping bitterly, praying for the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu. The Pujari at Shantipur temple had seen him coming since 1940s and 50s, coming here, and now it's been several years that he'd come back again. So this is before he's going. So this is the just after 1965. Pujari asked him, "Who are you? I remember you coming for so many years." Srila Prabhupada responded, "My name is Abhay Charnavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, and I'm a disciple of the empowered soul, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, who has come to deliver the world. I've been coming here because my Gurudev has given me an impossible mission to perform. He has ordered me to take the message of Lord Chaitanya and the holy names of Krishna across the ocean to spread all over the world. I have no qualification, no ability. People in the Western world have never heard the name of Krishna. And who is Radharani? How to convince them? Therefore, for all these years, I have been coming here because this is the place where Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu are eternally present. They're planning to take the holy names all over the world. I have been coming here praying to them to empower me to fulfill my Guru's order. Tomorrow, I'm taking a cargo ship to New York City. I don't know what I will find there. I don't know how I will do it. So I'm crying to my Gurudev and to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to empower me." Many years later, this Pujari in Shantipur saw many Westerners coming in dhotis and kurtas. One of them gave him a BTG magazine. He noticed the picture of Prabhupada and realized that this was the same holy man who had come and was crying for the mercy of the Lord. Pujari was ecstatic in the knowledge that the sadhu was successful in his mission. The Pujari came to Mayapur and told the devotees of this glorious pastime. Previous to this, Srila Prabhupada had met a gentleman, Mr. Agarwal, a Mathura businessman, and mentioned that he wanted to go to the West to fulfill the order of his spiritual master to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya in English. This meeting led to a sponsorship in America through Agarwal's son Gopal, an engineer in Pennsylvania. Soon Prabhupada received permission from the Ministry of External Affairs to travel to the US. Gopal Agarwal had solemnly declared that he would bear any and all expenses during Prabhupada's initial stay in the United States. Okay. Yeah. Prabhupada then traveled to Bombay with a plan. He would seek assistance in getting to America by approaching Sumati Morarji, who had learned, who was the head of the India steamship line. After all, he had met her at Kurukshetra in the 1950s, and she had subsequently donated considerable amount of money for printing volume 2 of his life's work, his translation with commentary of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Concerned for his health and welfare, Sumati Morarji declined to give him assistance. She feared that the lengthy journey by sea would kill him, since he was elderly and had never been outside India. She was right in a way, because he had 2 heart attacks on the way. Not wanting to be deterred from his goals, Prabhupada persuaded her secretary, Mr. Chokshi, to speak up on his behalf, coaching him in exactly what to say. So he was told, I find this gentleman very inspired to go to the USA and preach Lord Krishna's message to the people there. But again, she said no, determined in her decision to protect him in spite of himself. Prabhupada persistently demanded a personal interview, but it was not to be. Time passed. She ignored him for his own good, she believed. Eventually, due to his tenacity, she agreed to a meeting. When he entered her room, he simply said, please give me 1 ticket. She could see the total commitment and longing in his eyes, his determination to please his spiritual master and to fulfill the desire of Lord Krishna. It was simply not possible to deny him. So she scheduled a place for him on the ship Jaladutta, which was sailing from Kolkata on August the 13th, 1965. With deep concern in her heart, she saw to all his needs, making sure he would travel on a ship whose captain understood the needs of a Vaishnava vegetarian. Captain Arun Pandya made it a point to carry extra vegetables and fruits for the Swami on board. A couple of days before setting sail, Prabhupada arrived in Kolkata just to go to Mayapur and visit the Samadhi of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He wanted to pray and to ask for his Guru's blessings, and he also went to Shantipur, as mentioned earlier. Prabhupada was accompanied by several trunks, 203-volume sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, a personal baggage of a small suitcase, an umbrella, and a supply of dry cereal in case he couldn't find suitable food in a land so far from home. Almost 70 years old, he would now embark on a journey and a mission that would be daunting for a man half his age. After 10 days of travel, the ship approached the Red Sea, where Prabhupada encountered great difficulty. He noted in his diary, rain, seasickness, dizziness, headache, no appetite, vomiting. The symptoms persisted, but it was more than seasickness. The pains in his chest made him think he would die at any moment. In 2 days, he suffered 2 heart attacks, but he tolerated difficulty, meditating on the purpose of this mission. One night, Prabhupada had a dream. Lord Krishna and his incarnations were rowing a boat, and Krishna told Prabhupada that he should not fear, but should come along. Prabhupada felt assured of Lord Krishna's protection, and the violent attacks did not recur. By September the 10th, Prabhupada was becoming accustomed to life at sea. He wrote in his diary, the ship is flying very smoothly. I feel today better, but I'm feeling separation from Sri Vrindavan and my lords, Sri Govinda, Gopinath, Radha Damodar. The only solace is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which I'm tasting the nectarian of Lord Chaitanya's Leela pastimes. I've left Bharat Bhumi just to execute the order of Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in pursuance of Lord Chaitanya's order. I have no qualification. I have taken up the risk just to carry the order of His divine grace. I depend fully on their mercy so far away from Vrindavan. The ocean voyage was the calmest the captain had ever seen. Prabhupada said that the calmness was Lord Krishna's mercy. He wrote in his diary, if the Atlantic would have shown its usual face, perhaps I would have died, but Lord Krishna had taken charge of the ship.
What we can do, maybe we can stop there and continue tomorrow with this prayer. Maybe Karuna can recite this prayer and we can continue with Prabhupada's
glorification to man.
Well, yeah, just understanding a bit more until he is passing on. If that's okay with the devotees. Thank you so much. Okay. Any comments, any questions? Anybody?
Anyone to add anything?
There's so much to add about Prabhupada. So And maybe Madhusudan can, because I know he loves this bhajan, he can read the English and make a commentary if you like tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, Prabhuji. I will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, devotee.